have been checking out the YouTube channels of other women, particularly around my age, and some men. You know, guys tend to have a topic about, hunting or what is it they have? I don't know, politics. But women tend to have help videos, guidance, how to put on makeup when you're old. So, things like that. And there's one woman who has a channel. Her name is Janice, and it's so professional. I mean, somebody must be shooting at him. They show her walking, and lives in Fontainebleau out in France. She moved to France, and they're really amazing. They always have music, and I go, wow, wow, not like me, just propping up my iPad in the kitchen. Wow. And recently, she talked about anxiety attacks, and I've talked about anxiety attacks before. And I do want to say this. I think that, got my hat here. A lot of us, after a certain age, we're basically finding reasons to go on living, okay? If you've been, lost your job, I've been a writer and a freelancer my whole life, so I didn't really lose my job. I made enough money and invested mostly in real estate, which I always thought I would live in real estate. I never really thought that I would wind up doing what I did, which was to sell it at a profit. Nobody wants to read my writing, and this leads me exactly to why I had a bit of a depression the last few days, because I posted my story that time I lived in a haunted house. It was a pretty darn good story, and it's based on my actual experiences and how I came to deal with this crazy situation I found myself in when I moved back to California from Denver. And I knew it was a good story, and the people who, they don't really know me well, but who are on my mailing list, and you could be on my mailing list, you can contact me through Blue Sky, where I have almost 2,300 followers on Blue Sky. I'm very popular on Blue Sky. Don't know why, but I do post my stories there, and then it gets picked up by other writers, groups, and promoters, and it gets passed around, so I can see by going over to WordPress how many people have viewed it, and only about 30 people. 30 people. I have 2,300 followers on Blue Sky. Over here, I've only got, I don't know how many, like over 600, but not. This gal, Janice, she's got like 33,000 followers. I'm going, wow. Her videos are just so professional. They really are. So I was a little bit, I was sad. I really was sad. I have about 8 or 9 stories there, and I thought, eventually I might put them into a book. But then I came across Professor Brian Cox. This is limonada. This is stevia, purified water, and half a lime. Love it. And if you don't know about Professor Brian Cox, you probably shouldn't. You don't want to find out. So he talks about the cosmos. And I kind of have never paid attention. If you want to know the truth, I've never paid attention. I know. I look at the moon, I know the cosmos, and we're in the Milky Way galaxy. But I did not know there were 2 trillion galaxies out there. And so I went, that's a lot of galaxies. Now, I love to look up at the sky. When I walk, I always take a shot. I don't know why, but it's something about the sky. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little low, I just sort of feel it enter me. I feel the energy of the sky, of the universe, enter me, and I go, oh, I feel so much better now when I'm walking my dog. And here's the thing for all you people who believe in God. The cosmos, we don't know how. It just exists, and it's expanding, and it's expanding. Kind of know how life on Earth, we kind of know, they kind of know, we don't really know how life on Earth started. We had the elements, we had oxygen, water, and I don't know, atoms and molecules. Here you are, you are looking at atoms and molecules, atoms and molecules. This table, this thing, atoms, molecules, protons, that's it, and water. And somehow it all came together and it made sentient beings. It took like 3-4 million years, I think it was. before we're like, here, where you can watch me. So, we know where that came from. We came from, look up at the sky. It came from the sky. And as far as we know, there could be trillions of other, well, there's already 2 trillion galaxies, 14 million, I don't know, there's a real lot. There is some of the basics for life on these other planets that they look at, but there's no, as far as we know, life. I mean, they're always sending out, hey, any life out there? We're always sending that out. So, who did that? Where did God come from? People who believe in God, where did God come from? We know where all this came from. Where did God come from? This cosmos that we're in. And it's a little overwhelming. And also, when they ask, well, what's the meaning of life? We are. This is it. And we are finite and fragile. And that's what he talked about. When you're 85, about to be 85, you really know how finite and fragile you are. So I did have a panic attack this week. And I have I've talked about them before. One thing I have to watch out for me, and if you have panic attacks also, I dehydrate fast. It's happened, it happened when I was in my 20s too, but then I thought I was dying. And nobody knew about these things, One nurse once, when I had almost collapsed in a department store in England, gave me a glass of water and a hard candy, and I immediately felt better. I didn't put it together at that time. Maybe you need more water. Maybe you don't need more tranquilizers. Maybe you need more water. So I need a lot of water. I get up in the morning, I drink a glass of water to begin, before anything, a glass of water, sometimes 2. And then I probably take a high blood pressure pill. I'm supposed to. My doctor really laid into me about that 2 weeks ago. So that was, I had to go to see my cardiologist. I'd see him every 6 months. So I'm very much reminded of my mortality, it being several months before my birthday. And also that I have other little issues that I've had for many years. It supposedly won't kill you, but, I could step out and fall down and break my head open and you'd be dead. I don't know why Janice had her anxiety attack. I sort of want to put it in her comments, because she had been drinking coffee and she knew she needed to eat some sort of sugar. She went to the pastry right away. That's true. But I think she may have just dehydrated. But she's going through changes too. We all go through changes, especially those of us who have left our home country. And as much as I wax poetic about how much I love Mexico, and I do, I am new in my neighborhood, and I'm very fortunate. The other day I went out to walk the dog, and apparently I was in such a state because I've had a panic attack, and that's the other thing. If you have a panic attack, you should get out of where you are while you're having it. Just change the vibration. And most of us stop breathing when we have panic. We hold our breath. Remember to breathe. I had taken the dog for a walk, and as I came back, not a big walk, I was like, as I came back, my neighbor who speaks no English, a woman, she drives a sort of a van type thing, stopped and basically told me in Spanish that my keys, my llantas, were in llaves. Llantas is something else. Llantas are your tires. Your llaves, which is double L. Notice that you pronounce that with a Y. Were in La Puerta. And I went, oh my God, I left my key in La Puerta. And I had to keep repeating it. And then my Spanish is so bad that even though I understood her and said, oh, yo olvido, I forgot. She was about to get out of her car. I said, no, I understand. And I thought, oh, isn't that wonderful? She's actually never spoken to me before. She noticed when she pulled her car out and made her U-turn to turn her car around, that my key was in the lock. And fortunately, she saw me as I was coming back and told me about it. Now, what I did later that day is I had these lovely little things I bought. I do this occasionally. You see this wonderful little jar? I bought about 8 or 10 of them. Usually I thought, well, when I get invited to somebody's house, I put some succulents in it because John Guare taught me. John Guare is a playwright. Taught me years and years and years ago when he took me to a party at Hal Prince's house for Stephen Sondheim. Now I'm really dropping those names today, right? And he brought a bug, a cricket in a cricket cage that he bought in Chinatown. And I said, you're bringing an insect? He said, you know what? Rich people have everything they need. And if you want to make a rich person happy, you bring them a jar of marmalade or you bring them something like this. And he was absolutely right, because it's just the right thing to do. And so after that, I learned about this. Now, my neighbor, I suspect, is not a rich person, but I did figure out that when I go out places to bring a little something to somebody, not something that will intimidate them, not a fancy bottle of wine, not, something modest. And also, if you have somehow made it yourself, that's even better. And so when I put a little dirt in it, and I went and put a couple of succulents in it, and when I saw her again, I said, oh, vecina, vecina, gracias para ver mi casa. Thank you for looking at my house. Thank you to see my house, because I don't know how to say it. Well, looking is buscando. Gosh, I wish I could speak more Spanish, but most of my neighbors speak English, and then my Spanish neighbors, like this, Spanish-speaking neighbors, she's a little uncomfortable speaking to me, knowing that I don't really understand it, although I kind of do. And so that made me feel really good. I've living here now only 6 months, and it's just like when you started school as a kid. You go to a new school, you don't know anybody, you go like, oh, am I going to make any friends? Is anybody going to like me? Am I going to get bullied? And there is a man up on the corner who will not speak to me. I'll say, buenos dias, buenos tardes. And I mentioned to one of my other neighbors who we have a friend in common, so I feel comfortable saying this to her. I said, that guy in the corner, I say hello to me. No, he hates Americans. Now, isn't that interesting? I think he's right. But why take it out on me? I'm just an old lady who retired to Mexico because of the quality of life, and it's less expensive here for medical care. I'm going to see, I've decided I do probably need to see a doctor and get some sort of prescription for something, for some sort of, I don't know if it's an allergy or whatever it is. And that's the other thing, that will trigger an anxiety in me, because I almost said the word terror. Well, I have anxiety about how long I can take care of myself. And I think that's common in anybody over 65 or 70, where you go like, oh, okay, I'm really lucky. I can, drive a car, and, I can, make videos and do a lot of things. But one never really knows. Some people to the day they die. And you know what? Some people who are obese and smoke cigarettes, live into their 90s. And other people who, what was his name? Jim Fox, I think it was. He was a running guy. He died running. He was like 45. He died running. So none of us know the number of our days. None of us know that. And every once in a while it goes, and I go, oh. Plus, the meaning of life is the meaning of life. That's it. If you watch Brian Cox, by the way, I do advise you catch one of his videos. He's really very engaging, the way Carl Sagan was, and makes things very available to us to understand. This is quite a miracle, and I do think that, if we could call it a miracle, it's also in some way a curse, because it's really sort of interesting. Flowers rebloom, for instance, they rebloom. But also, in terms of a larger picture, one of the things that I don't really get, I go like these tyrants and dictators who are making wars and people who are oppressing other people, I go like, how long do you think you're going to be able to do that? You think you're getting like some, a pass? You don't die because you killed 10,000 people or 25,000 people? You think that makes you live longer? I mean, I don't get it. I just don't understand. But I do understand that it's hard to, on a daily basis, first of all, we don't on a daily basis. It's hard to accept that this is finite, that one day you may be watching this and I won't be alive, although the problem is, I think I've put it up to take down my YouTube channel after a year. So you better save it now if you want it. Anyway, I'm just working my way through it, that's all. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to go to bed for a week or two, or once I didn't go out of my house for a year. And fortunately for me, men love helpless women. Or young men do. They all want to save you. And so they indulged me. They just indulged me. And I didn't get well until I had a near-death experience. And here's the thing. I had a near-death experience. I survived death. And I will tell you something. It's easy. Dying is easy. It scary at all. Dying is easy. It's living that's the challenge. It's living with your own fragility, which at this moment, I thank you, not fragile, but you never know. It's always a possibility. This is very, very thin. This little layer of derma skin. Very, very thin. Thinner as you get older. So, yeah, look up at the sky. If you want to feel better wherever you are, look up at the sky, even if it's gray. Even if it's gray. Because we came from there. You know, our teeth are made from stardust or something. I don't know. Carl Sagan is good about that. We came from the stars. And I might say, to the stars we return. But for today, we are here, and may it be a good one for you. Thank you for watching.